In the last in this series of videos in which I'm attempting to repair an HP9830A desktop calculator, I got as far as getting the machine to successfully go through the resident diagnostic. So this is a run up, power up, and at the end of this very short routine, this is a routine that's executing in the microcode generator. There's a decision instruction where if everything has gone well to this point, then it should jump to EA, and if you recall, it was jumping to EB, but in the last video I got it to successfully jump to EA. There were various faults in the electronics, so I resolved those and it then started jumping to EA as it should do. So I've got the analyzer set to trigger on the same address as previously in the microcode generator. So I'll boot up the HP and we can see that it is indeed successfully booting up to the correct reset address. And if I scroll across, so we can now see that it's successfully jumping to EA. However, the display is still blank, although there does seem to be a lot more activity in the microcode generator now than there was before. So I was thinking about the next step in the fault finding process, and that's always one of the biggest things in trying to repair this type of equipment, is deciding how to go about doing it. So I decided that rather than delving further into the electronics, I've already had a fairly good look through the CPU boards, found a lot of faulty ICs that I've replaced. I thought the next best step would be to see if it can actually execute any code, that's system code, as opposed to microcode instructions. If we look at the code that's been captured on the analyzer, you can see that each instruction is multiple bit clocks, and the instructions are also variable length. Some are as short as 1 clock, and the maximum is 16. But to look at the actual system instructions, what we should be doing is looking at the microcode clock rather than the bit clock. So I'll move the camera so we can see what I've got hooked up now, and then we'll start looking to see if we can actually capture any system code instructions and see if the microcode controller is capable of actually reading instructions and decoding and executing them. Okay, this might seem like a bit of a tangled mess. What I've done is hooked up 16 bits on the analyzer to the M register and 16 bits to the T register. If you recall from my DaveCAD drawing, the T register is effectively the data register for memory. It's a 16-bit register that can be loaded in parallel from the memory, or it can send data in parallel to the memory, and also it can be serially loaded or read. As you probably recall, this is a serial machine, but the memory is addressed in parallel, so this is how it transfers data from the CPU to memory and vice versa. The M register, it's quite a complex card, but essentially it's these 4 chips here, and again these are a serial load register that access the 16 bits on the memory bus in parallel, and this register is responsible for selecting the appropriate memory address that the CPU wants to talk to. So as if it wants to write to or read from a memory location, then it loads this register with the required address. So I now have this bus visible on the analyzer, and also from the T register I have the bus going to memory. So what we'll do now is look on the analyzer, and the idea is to try and capture some actual system level instructions. But of course the question is how to go about doing that. How do we know what instructions to actually look for? I can't find a separate listing for the main system code for this machine. What I want to do is to try to confirm, at least initially, that the ROM card is working. That's the one that will be pretty much impossible to replace if it's faulty. Looking through various documents that are available, I did find a copy of the original patent for this machine that HP filed when they first designed it, and that does include a comprehensive listing of the system firmware. And looking at the start of it, which is presumably the reset address for the system code, then what I would expect to find, as in all code, normally you find a jump here, and what I wanted to do was to try and figure out where the code would start and where it would jump to, and here it says start of monitor, and as you know, with all equipment like this, whether it's an Altair or a Mark 14 or whatever, the firmware, the system needs to run some sort of monitor if it's going to accept and deal with data being fed in by a user. It has to have some way to handle that. That's usually done by a monitor program. So I looked through the code in the patent application. Bear in mind there are hundreds and hundreds of pages of this, and what I found was this page. It's quite a long way in, but it says monitor. So looking through the code, it does appear to be sensible bootup code. It's the sort of thing you'd expect to run once at the beginning of code. So if we look back at the analyzer and see what is happening at address 0. Okay, so what I've done is I've changed the clock input to the analyzer to the microcode clock rather than the bit clock, and that is of course variable in length because the instructions that it represents vary in length as well. But as far as the analyzer is concerned, because we're running the analyzer in state mode, it doesn't matter. Although the increments will be shown on the screen as all being equal, just bear in mind that they actually can represent different lengths of time based on the number of clocks required for that particular instruction. So what I'll do now is go back to the start of code. I'll reset the machine, so reboot the HP, and what you can see now is that initially we're getting the same data. So we get the reset, this is the microcode bus at the top. In red we have the T register, and at the bottom in yellow we have the M register. So the M register at the bottom is essentially the address that we are trying to access in main system ROM or RAM. And if I now start scrolling through the code, so we're going through the self-test part of the microcode boot up here, and there are various things happening. There's one thing that doesn't seem to be working here that I'll come back to in a few minutes, but if we go across to 9E, 9E is the instruction in microcode that decides whether we've passed or failed the initial self-test, and we've jumped to EA, so in this case it's passed that self-test. And EA, if we look at the microcode listing, simply says that this is the part of the microcode that tries to read the next instruction. So bear in mind the code in the microcode controller is just there to provide the functionality of the instructions that the main system code uses, and the code starting EA is responsible for reading the next instruction from either ROM or RAM. So what should happen from this point on? I won't go into too much detail at this point, we might need to come back to this later, but if we start scrolling across, what we're looking for is something that is representative of the first instruction we're seeing in the system code. So here the first instruction is shown as 164121. This is in octal, by the way, and of course on the screen we're seeing it in hex. So if we scroll across now until we see a memory access, and the memory access, we'll have a quick look at the, so this is the microcode listing. So EA, read next instruction from memory into T. I think that's wrong, I need to decode this instruction, and then it will decide what to do based on the instruction that it's read, whether it's an in-out request or something like that. So if we look back at the analyzer screen, we'll see that the first memory location to be accessed is 1440. Bear in mind this is hex, whereas the listings are in octal. But if I convert 1440 from hex into octal, then we'll see we get 12100. And if we look back at the listing, we can see that the first instruction destination address is indeed 121. This 164121 is a jump instruction. The 164 part of this number is the jump instruction reference itself, and the 121 indicates the memory location that stores the value that we want to jump to. So in other words, this is not the jump destination. This 121 octal is just the address where the required target address is stored. And this two-step approach just gives us obviously far more memory space that we can access. Otherwise we'd have to make the instructions a lot longer. So if we now look at the analyzer screen again, we'll see that the next memory location to be accessed is 51 hex. And if I convert 51 hex into octal, so 51 in hex, in octal that is 121. So it's looking promising so far. So in other words, it wants to load the value that's at 121. And if we now look at the listing again, and if we look at memory address 121, the second column is the address in code, then the value stored there is 4000 octal. And if we convert 4000 octal into hex, so 4000, and convert it into hex, we'll see that we get a value of 800 hex. 800 hex being the address that the machine wants to jump to, so that should be loaded into the M register if we are going to access the next instruction from that address. And if we look back at the analyzer screen, we'll see that the next value is indeed 800. So what's happened so far is that we've been able to boot up the microcode generator. It's jumped to the correct first instruction in system code. It's successfully read the first value that's there. It's then successfully read the instruction, it's successfully decoded the instruction, and it's then successfully loaded the value that should be in ROM at that address. Now, that's as far as I've gone at the moment. The next step is for me to start looking through the code to see if I can find some RAM access, and to see if I can find where the in-out routines are, and then trace those through and see what effect they're having on the hardware. What I need to do is determine whether this is a hardware fault in the microcode generator, or in the display electronics, or in the ROM or RAM. It still, of course, could be a ROM issue if some of the ROM is corrupt. It's starting to look like it may be a RAM issue, but as I said, what I'll do, I'll trace this through and see where it's going off course, and then get back with an update and see if I can make any progress in repairing it. It's looking good so far. The machine at least can access ROM, it can read instructions, it can interpret them, and to a certain degree it can process them. So hopefully I can make some progress fairly soon.